Going live.
We're live.
Okay.
I'm watching us on YouTube right now.
Okay, great.
It's like time travel from a few minutes ago.
Hello. Welcome to C4 Network's fourth live stream, Night Light, and enjoy the show.
I'm Adrienne Inglis, and I'm so honored to have my piece Our Light in Our Night on this C4 program. Composed especially for remote singing, we follow the video that shows the music and provides a nature soundtrack. I'm grateful to Kathy Fitzgibbon and the Lewis and Clark College Summer Enrichment Choir Program for helping me workshop this piece. We actually unmuted ourselves on Zoom and sang together. We're using the more music-friendly Jamula software tonight, and our soloist is soprano Angela Irving. The text is by medieval English theologian Julian of Norwich, who survived the Black Plague as a 6-year-old girl. She became an anchoress at St. Julian's Church, where she lived in prayerful seclusion. She became very sick at age 30. Near the point of death, a curate showed her a crucifix for comfort. She then experienced a series of intense visions of Christ and recovered from her illness to write eloquently about her showings. Her beautiful words give us comfort during this pandemic. Pay attention to the music because you may be invited to sing along with us later in the concert.
We ready?
Which light is God our
Congratulations to Adrienne Inglis for a lovely piece.
And thanks to Angela for a beautiful solo.
Thank you.
Up next is Mask by Perry Townsend. We're saddened that Perry can't perform with us tonight due to the death of his mother just a week ago. Mary Ellen Townsend was a constant, warm, and smiling presence at our C4 concerts for many years, frequently making the trip to New York from her home in North Carolina, and we dedicate this performance to her memory.
It's my job to remind Brian to make sure the click track is in the appropriate mode.
And our jitter buffers are at 14.
And no reverb.
And no reverb.
Thank you, everyone.
And turning everyone
Teamwork.
A little behind the scenes.
Yeah. Right.
Nope. Nope, 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 nope.
Brian, can we get a sample of the click track before we start?
Great.
Here's the pitch.
Hold on just a second. Okay.
freaking clever.
Thank you, Perry.
Yay. Jitter buffers back to 20.
Fire up the jitterbug buffers.
All right, so I think it's my job to tell you about the fact that we have a tip jar. So this live stream concert is free, and but we welcome your donations in our virtual tip jar on Venmo. Our tag is at C4 Ensemble, or if you prefer, you can make a donation via PayPal to info@c4ensemble.org, or by credit card at c4ensemble.org/support. Like
Support live music.
all art organizations, the pandemic is hard on our finances, and we appreciate your support.
Nope. Tim might be muted.
Yes, I'm now unmuted, am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
I tried to say thank you to Daniel for that message. It really is helpful for those that can contribute. And it's my turn to talk about the next piece coming up, my piece, which I've entitled Ostinato, Chords, and Vocalise, because that basically is what comprises the piece. So in the tradition of the great painters who basically just list what's in their piece, I've done the same. The piece was, as many of our pieces are right now, just an experiment in creating music that works in this format with very little attention or purposeful inattention to rhythmic clarity. We can't rely on coming in together, exiting together, and so the makeup of the piece allows complete freedom for those kinds of rough edges to work appropriately. The ostinato contains 2 pitches, and those 2 pitches fit into an 8-chord progression. Those 2 pitches fit into all the chords, and then once those chords are established, our lovely soprano soloist will, in a classical sound but with the jazz underpinning, give us the vocalise portion of the piece. So here's ostinato, chords, and vocalise with soloist Karen Siegel.
Everyone remember to pin me.
Oh, yeah.
And if you would like to lower the soloist, now's the time. Is everyone ready? Pitches, please.
La
you so much to Karen for her solo, and to Tim. Thank you so much for your work. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. What are our notes here? All right. So, hi, I'm Melissa. I'm a member of C4, and I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to the members of the Inversion Ensemble. And at this point, I might say it's about 50-50 C4 to Inversion Ensemble, but our amazing members from across the country are joining us from Austin, Texas, to bring this live stream concert to you. We are transcontinental. The Inversion Ensemble has their own concert event coming up, and I'm gonna pass it on to Stephanie to tell you a bit more about that.
Yes, so Inversion Ensemble will have a Facebook live virtual ether water concert. Sorry, I'm hashing this up a little bit. We will have a happy hour starting at 6:30 on Zoom, and then we'll go on over to Facebook to watch our concert. And you can find all that information on Inversion's Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and search for Inversion Ensemble, www.facebook.com/Inversion Ensemble. Thank you.
All right, Josh.
Oh, all right. So the next piece we're going to be doing is called Demon. For those of you who watched our last live stream, I semi-conducted a piece called The Last Transmissions of Amelia Earhart by Robbie LaBanca, one of the Inversion composers. Just like that piece, this piece is also a graphic score, which means the notation on the page is not standard musical notation of quarter notes and eighth notes, and so I'm beginning to think our friends at C4 believe I can't read music. In any case, the music isn't noted with traditional rhythms, pitches, but instead the notation has indication for a variety of pitched and unpitched noises, sweeps and scoops and consonants and vocal frying and yelling and, yes, sometimes, singing. The composer, Matt Brown, in the notes to this piece says it was presented to an audience of film and video game composers as a demonstration of novel vocal techniques. His challenge was to himself was to write a piece with 0 specified pitches or texts. And so you can see some of that on the live stream now. For us, performing the piece is a matter of realizing the score in real time and making sure our sounds match other singers, at least when they're supposed to. And the composer's very careful to notate what's sung, what's spoken, and what's shouted, and what's whispered. Actually, we often have to make sure that we're not perfectly matching up with each other in order to get the effect to sound exactly right. Performing this piece in person is exciting and really terrifying for the audience. There's a huge range of vocal sounds that are often disorienting, very difficult to place visually and orally. Rehearsing this piece online for us has been super challenging. If we had the same range of yelling and whispering as we would in a normal in-person concert, we would overload our microphones constantly and you'd hear just static and distortion, which is a really cool effect, but not at all the one that's honest to the score. So we have to fiddle with our microphone levels, where our distance to the microphone, the direction we're singing on or off the axis of the microphone, and other techniques to produce the same kind of effect as we would get in a live performance. The text is from the biblical Gospel of Mark. It's the demon that says, "Our name is Legion, for we are many." The end of this story, where the demons are cast into the pigs and they throw themselves off a cliff and into the water, is not represented in the music. We hope to have composer Matthew Brown at the talkback right after the concert, so please stick around for that. He was the first winner of the C4 composition competition. So please enjoy Demon by Matt Brown. And is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Thank you to Matt Brooks. Matt Brown.
All right,
It's
Adrienne.
hot down here.
Okay, I hope that all of you watching this would like to sing with us. We'll go back to our first piece, Our Light in Our Night. Brian will share the score, and please sing along with us. You can do what we do, which is follow Angela for the pitches. So once you hear her pitch, sing along and don't be shy. Enjoy the music as it goes. The blue line will tell you what to do, when to sing that section or whisper that section. So this is a sing along, and we're glad to have you join us.
And we get to change our settings back.
Oh yeah,
Back
reverb.
on, yeah.
Jitter buffers are already at 20.
2020.
Yeah. Reverber's at half.
Oh, and turn down the C4 channel. I forgot that the first time.
Are we ready?
One could sing along with that one. No.
Let's try again, shall we?
Which light is God around this
Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a round of applause. We applaud you. Thank you for being part of this fun transcontinental thing. So now we're going to have our talkback, and we're inviting the two composers, Matthew Brown and hopefully Perry Townsend, to come on Jamulus and Zoom to answer any questions that anyone has. So if you have any questions about anything for any of the composers, about any of the pieces, for any of us, please type them in the chat, and we will be monitoring the chat and asking the questions and answering them. I guess asking them out loud because, yeah, that's how we know how to answer them. So.
Can I just say, Angela, you sounded great after singing Demon doing...
Thanks. I didn't really think about that. I was like, oh, that's right. I'll do that again. And after, making that sound.
We can all put our reverbs back to 0, by the way.
Right.
Good call. They are, yes.
Unless we want to have our talk back in a fake cathedral. So I don't see any questions yet in the chat. Please don't be shy. We would love to hear from you, and there's no such thing as a bad question. So please go ahead and ask your questions whatever they are. And hi, Matt!
Yay! Oh, I hear that weird thing.
You came along with some insects.
I know.
I think one of us turned on the YouTube and didn't have it
and
muted.
it fed back.
It's over. It's
Oh,
over.
it's Matt.
The adventures in
It's Matt.
In live streaming. Can you hear us, Matt? Can we hear
When
you?
Matt joined the live stream, that was the feedback loop.
Oh no!
Nice background.
It's quite exciting, though.
Oh, Matt
was.
is
It
not yet
sounded
in
pretty
Jamulus,
cool.
so we'll give him a minute.
We can work with him, and in the meantime, if you have questions for the composers that are here.
What about
There
Perry?
are
Is
some
Perry with
questions
us?
up
Yeah,
on
there's a couple.
on the chat now.
Oh, there are. Fantastic. Let's start with the questions that we see. Well, first question I see is for Matt, so we'll wait on that.
The first one I see is, how many times have y'all had to practice together to get this to work so perfectly?
Ooh, perfectly.
Who wants to guess that
Thank
one?
you for the compliment.
Yeah.
Fooled you.
You can find out and join us.
But not next week, because we're off next week.
You're right, yeah, we're on next.
We've been
How many
averaging about
rehearsals did we
4.
have for this one? Was it
4 per
four?
concert,
3 or
haven't we?
4?
Yeah.
Four
We had-
rehearsals?
We did an
Including
extra one on
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It's much more compressed than C4's usual schedule. I imagine more compressed than Inversions as well.
Yeah.
Perry, you made it. Thank you.
Yes, and it's one a week rather than a full concert week that
Week
at
of
least
concert,
Inversion is used to. It's not every day.
Yeah. Usually our concert schedule is like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday,
So
Wednesday, Thursday.
There's a deep question about mask from Irene.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What is it?
That's for
How
Perry.
much is mask about what we're wearing now, and how much about the masks we wear every day and keeping our inner selves safe from the outside world?
Wow.
Question for Perry.
I like it.
Perry.
Go ahead,
you
Perry.
Did you hear that, Perry?
That was deep.
Oh, we're missing. We can't
Where's
hear
Perry?
you.
Perry, you are...
He's there.
on
He's
Jamulus.
connecting to audio, though.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
you're there.
your Zoom is connecting to audio.
Hold, please.
I can hear you guys.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Had some
Hello,
audio
Matt.
issues.
Yeah.
Well, you're better now.
Okay, am I here now?
You
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Yay.
Howdy. So I was trying to get connected. So could you run that question by me again?
Irene Johansson asks, Perry, how much is mask about what we're wearing now, and how much about the masks we wear every day in keeping our inner selves safe from the outside world?
Wow.
I was taking it literally all the time.
That is a great question. I think in writing it, it was more for me about the former, but maybe subconsciously it was about the other as well. Obviously about the shared experience that we all have that we're trying to live through and make sense of. The wearing it, the not wearing it, the something about the motive. I wear it, I wear it, I wear it, just sort of locked in, and the piece just sort of almost wrote itself from there. And I tried to, there's a criticism going on, and I tried to temper that with a lightness, which most of the piece is about just these weird just how strange it is, how annoying, and it itches, and just this sort of strange experience that we have to go around when we're outside. And so yeah, whether that is about the sort of the larger mask I hadn't thought of, I'm going to continue to think about it.
There's a question from Matt basically asking him to explain more about his compositional process.
First of all, thank you so much for the performance. Beautiful pieces all around, and honored to be part of this. If someone can tell me how I can get rid of the echo in Jamulus, I'm hearing myself.
Mute yourself.
Mute myself in Jamulus.
But not the mute myself button.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
In the mixer.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Cool. I love this. This whole composition process for me, it changes from piece to piece and it evolves, as you all know, and especially now, I'm personally inspired by all the pieces I see being written by these ensembles and composers in the US and worldwide, and trying to look at a difficult situation and what could be perceived, easily understandably perceived as limitations, being used as tools to maybe go a different direction. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. With Demon, it was written specifically for a concert given, I think was mentioned, for film and TV composers. That's something I and a lot of people here do here in LA and elsewhere. And a lot of the times the choral parts in soundtracks tend to be kind of like oohs and ahs and kind of woven into the texture in the final mix. Sometimes choral parts are more prominent, sometimes you get words, which is great. But not just that, but in choral music, I think in general, the human voice has not been anywhere close, explored to its full potential, I think. And so I wanted to I wrote this piece like the day before the concert, literally drawn out. I could send you guys that if you're interested, like on 3 sheets of paper. I did the digitized version later, which was an interesting process. And so I wanted to, like he said in the preface to the piece, write something that showcased different parts of the voice that maybe weren't thought about or not as explored maybe in a lot of choral literature. And so for this piece, that's kind of what it was. I thought about different sounds that I can make with my voice. I thought about some pieces that use some of these sounds, but just trying to get as much out of the voice as I could in a short span of time. The programmatic part of it, the adding of the text, came later, and it just seemed appropriate. It's one of the sort of creepier, horror-esque stories, I think, in the Bible. So anyway, I hope that explains it.
Matt, can I ask, given the context of the film conference, did you have any visual inspirations in mind?
Again, like not when I was writing it. Honestly, it's kind of interesting the life that this piece has taken on. My friend Fahed Siadat, whom many of you know, published the piece with his awesome publishing company, Siadat Publishing. and they specialize in new and very interesting sort of pushing the envelope a little bit choral music of all different kinds. And I think I didn't really have anything specific in mind other than just sounds kind of for their own sake. And I tried to sort of weave them together in a way that kind of made narrative or a time sense and flow. But I didn't even really think of it as a piece, to be honest. But it was more of just an experiment a lot, in which I see that's still going on now, even though we're all kind of huddled up in our homes, which again I find really inspiring. So really not at the beginning. It was more something that came afterward. I in the original performance, I remember, and it's fun to see the video because the camera is behind the audience in this small art gallery, and it's funny to see people's reactions in the beginning. And I had people come up to me, at least one person came up and asked if that was a recording that we had played. They thought it was some kind of digital or synthesizer type or samples or something. I was like, no, that was all voices. So.
Huh. Is it all? Did you use all pen and ink for this, or?
Oh, that was pencil originally. It was old school, which I still love doing.
Yeah.
It's just it slows you down, and there's nothing that takes its place really.
It's a very clear notation.
Thank you. That was, so if anybody's curious, the composers out there, if you take a look at the score, it was a combination of iPad drawing apps, Adobe Illustrator, and then exporting and importing a bunch of SVG files for those graphics nerds out there.
I was curious, where did you get the idea to label the one section Crazed Pterodactyl? That is definitely a unique direction that I've never seen
the most
before.
memorable part of the piece.
It is the most memorable part of the piece.
It's not biblical either.
No. Well, it depends on who you ask, probably.
Yeah. But if you have
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying if you have a child who requests pterodactyl songs like mine, then it's a good phrase to have.
I think I don't know where that came from exactly. I mean, I have no idea what a pterodactyl would sound like, but
well, we do because we do.
Well, yeah, of course. It was colorful, and again, I was throwing this at 16 session singers whom I highly respect and love, and I was just threw this thing at them, which was completely different from everything else we were doing. But that was its point, really, was to be different and to just do everything else that wasn't being done. And try to make it make sense, I guess.
For those of you who are not following the chat, we have some nice jokes about our competition with the Republican National Convention tonight. I invite you to think about which individuals might be represented by demon or crazed pterodactyls.
I like the comment. Wait, I thought this was the RNC.
Parts of it sounded like it.
Yeah.
I have a question for Adrienne. Can you tell us a little bit about how your piece evolved? Beautiful piece, by the way. Can you tell us about how it evolved during your workshops with the Lewis and Clark group, and then how it changed when you brought it to us?
Thanks. I'd not really ever written aleatoric music. It meant for this format, and having done the last couple of concerts with C4, and thanks for including all us Inversionites, we really appreciate it. Just trying to get a feel for what works best in this format. And the Lewis and Clark group, it's a wonderful group of 60 to 70 singers, and we would get together every week over the summer with Kathy Fitzgibbon and just mute ourselves on Zoom, and we weren't supposed to be singing together, but she would do workshops and teach us stuff, and at some point when I felt a little more comfortable, I asked her, could I try this out, and I was really inspired by David's last video, the video he did that was so great of the blanking on the name, the cartoon.
Keep in Touch.
Keep in Touch.
Hey, Keep in Touch.
Was so great, and I thought it's so nice and easy to follow a video, and it makes it more accessible. So I asked her if we could try it. So we tried it, and we unmuted ourselves, and And it, even though, with that many voices, really only a few kind of pop through the texture, it was an amazing sensation of, wow, we're really singing together. And it was just took everybody's breath away, because it was, even though it was, not as smooth as Jamulus, if we consider Jamulus smooth, I don't know. It was really rewarding. So I thought, well, let me refine this, and I got some help from some of the members who said it'd be really great if you could do such and such and such, and put a little timer in the video or whatever, and to help. So they helped me refine it, and then we did it at like 3 of the rehearsals, and then I'm really happy that we're able to do it here. And it's also it's a freely available score. You can go to we'll look it up on YouTube. You should be able to find it. And it's free for everybody to share and use as much as you want to.
That's nice of you to make it available. If people have more questions, please do feel free to put them in the chat. Let's take this moment to remind you that our virtual tip jar is still open. It's Venmo at C4 Ensemble, or on our website you can make a credit card donation, or the PayPal information is also in the YouTube description.
And that website is c4ensemble.org.
It's always open.
I have something I can ask Matt, if it's okay. Matt, I first became familiar with your music when C4 was very pleased to announce you as the winner of our very first composition competition. I don't know what year that was. Maybe Karen remembers. And there is I can't think of a way of describing the disparity in approach between the piece that we sang called Sublunary, very beautiful piece built on a very beautiful and long poem. Commendable of you to be able to make such a long poem work in a cohesive piece, which we all loved.
And it again.
Is that a description? Is it apt to say that you range all the way from one end to that, from what we heard tonight, or is it more one or the other for you?
Thank you, first of all. I appreciate that. It's a piece I'm really proud of, and it's a moment I'll never forget, being a part of that and getting to go to New York for maybe like the second time in my life, being a California native. It was awesome. And I think, I don't know, I'd like to think of it as versatility, maybe. I think maybe some composers are sort of aware. It's hard to be self-aware in terms of your output as it goes. It becomes retrospective, and you look back and you kind of wonder, after a piece has been written, after enough time has passed, it almost kind of takes on a life of its own in a way, whether that's getting performances or not, or just the fact that you're a different person in a way. Or you've aged and you've had new experiences, and I think writing choral music specifically, usually you're responding to a text, and for me the text, if there is one, is paramount. I don't really set out trying to write in a particular style. I hope that as I write more and more, that there are stylistic traits that are identifiable as my music, and still not, I don't want to write obviously the same piece over and over again either. So it's trying to find that balance. I'm writing pieces now, like with choirs that I direct at a college, where it's all modular and it's all sort of pre-recorded. I think this experience, hearing you guys and having it sound so good online, is really intriguing and exciting to me, and I want to steal all your secrets.
Please.
But I
they're
think
public.
They're public.
They're
Okay.
not secrets. They're out there.
Okay. But I hope that answers your question. I think it's all me. I'm always interested in sound. I'm very orally inclined, I guess, obviously, and I'm a singer as well, and I think I've written more choral music than other types of music, but I have written electronic and chamber and orchestral music, all kinds of stuff. but even pop songs, believe it or not. I wrote a country song once, but
Demon, right?
I'd like to hear
that.
Demon.
Yeah. You can hear the banjo in the background if you listen really carefully.
That makes
Behind
sense.
the pterodactyl.
Is your choral, if I may ask, is your choral music more like sublunary in general?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think. I did a piece a couple years ago for a group called the Golden Bridge that basically does one concert a year. It's a pro group here in LA, filled with a lot of my friends, and it was a 20-voice chorus. And I thought, well, I'd like to try a 20-part choral piece.
Ooh.
And so it starts off with, it's called Burned. It's by the same author, actually, A.E. Stallings, who is one of my favorite living poets. Who has allowed me to set graciously her texts. Sublunary is one. I've done several of hers. They just really speak to me. That one, it's sort of, the choir just kind of disintegrates as it goes, and as you, if you have 20 singers and you go to 20 parts, the sound doesn't get fuller, right? It's like string divici. It actually just kind of dissipates in an interesting way, and everybody's kind of out on a limb at the end, which has an interesting energy to it. But it was also kind of a stepping stone to wanting to write a 40-part motet a la Tallis and others. Yeah. Just, to try my hand at it. So I think sometimes, like, when I try a new piece, it's like, what about this is new to me? Whether it's just the text or the instrumentation. I did another piece last year, another A.E. Stallings setting for my first piece for women's chorus, but it also has string quartet that's amplified and euphonium, because they had a really good euphonium player, and synthesizer. So, sometimes it's the commission, sometimes it's just, an idea for a piece that never comes to fruition. It's the gamut, I think.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for Demon. We had fun, and
thank you.
I definitely can't wait to sing Sublunary again in my lifetime.
Yeah, one thing I remember about Sublunary that has a tie-in to Demon is the use of the alternating sounds, to just the shifts in tone color within each individual voice to create a texture or to create a different color.
Right. I wrote Demon on just, 2 staves, just high voices, low voices, just to kind of have it as modular and as adaptable to different types of ensembles that might perform it as possible. I like sometimes when I'm setting a text, like Sublunary is a good example. I think there's a place actually where the upper voices are there's a line that talks about the crickets chirping, and I love the beautiful piece that you did with the that in the background. It was awesome. And so, like, how do you do that with your voice? Well, it's stylized. It's not. You wouldn't probably even notice that that's maybe what it's alluding to, if not for the text. But there are times where I feel like the text needs to be accompanied some way to kind of propel it forward, or there might be some wordless stuff that also happens in Sublunary and happens in some other pieces I've set. Another one called Blackbird Etude, also by A.E. Stallings, that has a bird call in it that the conductor plays, and a bunch of tin whistles at the end that just pop out from nowhere. But it's I feel like sometimes it needs that, the text needs a space to breathe. If you were just reciting a poem, you might not necessarily do that. But since you're sort of doing something completely new with it anyway, where everything is stretched out, then sometimes it becomes apparent that it needs these sort of wordless, sometimes vowels or other types of sounds that become part of the canvas, if that makes sense.
Mm. Well, in my experience, you do very well what I think a lot of us aspire to, which is just the ideas that you bring are not for no reason. They're always for a reason. They're always thought out. They're always incorporated beautifully and commendable.
Thank you so much.
Tim, it's your turn. We have a question about how much of the Vocalise is open to improvisation versus spelled out by you.
It's intended to be completely open to improvisation, but it has parameters.
Was that too strict?
I suppose, for example, the Ostinato singers are stuck with their 2 notes. Where they can improvise is choosing how fast they want to go on their particular rhythm, and they have a choice of 4 rhythm patterns to follow. But they don't get to go beyond 2 notes, so that's really the extent of their improvisation. The choir is locked in, and their job is simply to provide the 8 chord progression, and there's no improvisatory element to that aspect of it. The Vocalise is where I hoped to allow the most improvisation. So the line in each of the 8 passages is rhythmically exactly the same. And where the improvisation comes in is bracketed notes at the end of each of the 8 passages. Some of them include as many as 6 notes, some as few as 2, that are recommended for the soloist to riff on, but not prescribed. What I asked Karen to do was not feel limited by anything beyond singing the initial phrase note for note as is needed, and then riffing back on any number of notes that she wanted, any number of times. So the Vocalise is the part that has the most improvisatory element included.
Well, it's really fun to sing. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Nice.
There's a question about whether we can accommodate 100 or more singers on the software we're using, which is Jamulus. And unfortunately, Jamulus has a maximum of 50 participants. Large choirs are the final frontier for live remote music. I've in working with large choirs, I've been so far recommending to them to either use Zoom, which is very imperfect, but on the original sound setting, it's possible to make music together with some limitations, or to break up the choir into small groups that can fit on Jamulus with its maximum of 50, or on Clean Feed with its maximum of 32. There are other options out there too, but at this point, I'm not aware of any that can accommodate more. Daniel might change that.
So I was gonna, I was gonna say, there is a Jamulus choir in Europe that is, I think, mainly devoted to exploring the possibilities of Jamulus as opposed to necessarily putting on big concerts or something. But they did something that I participated in where they were trying to get up potentially to 100 people by having multiple Jamulus sessions that were then interconnected with each other. So there were like 30 people in the bass room and 30 people in the tenor room and so on. And then the bass people were connected to the tenor and the... Now, we didn't...
people connected to the
Yeah, exactly. That was... I didn't understand exactly how it worked. And we didn't have enough people to really test it out fully. But I think there might be something you could do, but you would then, the latency issues we have would be that much more, and the tech person who has to put it all together would have to have even one more crinkle on their egghead cap to be able to handle it all. So it might be possible, but I wouldn't necessarily jump right to 100 people without seeing whether you can make it work with 20, because there are enough hurdles that the technology is not yet what's keeping us from singing Beethoven's Ninth or something. We've got a bunch of musical things and all of that before we reach this 50 limit and try and go beyond it.
And actually, Brian, you mentioned last time that it's the hard limit is now 100.
I think that's right, but I'm not likely to try it anytime soon, as is.
But speaking of technical things, Brian and Daniel make all the technical stuff work.
Can we give them a good round of applause?
Yeah. Seriously.
I think I managed to avoid playing the click track a third of the way through the piece like I did last time.
Well done, Brian, well done.
Well, Tim, it was all due to you.
Only because I was given the assignment to tell you to turn it off.
I told you it was important. So I guess we should wrap up before too long.
Wait, I just want to mention with the software for larger choirs, there is something promising coming, which is that Zoom promises to be introducing advanced music options this fall. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I read what they said it means, but it doesn't really make any sense. So we're just going to have to see what happens. So that might help or it might not help. We'll find out whether it's good for choirs.
Any last burning questions from the YouTube chat that we need to answer?
Actually, I have a question for you guys. It's kind of related to this Jamulus thing. I had to leave the process. I got us kind of halfway through the process of Mask and had to completely leave. And so I have no idea what happened in the last rehearsals, and it was starting to become aligned the last time I heard it. But boy, did it really line the hell right up. I mean, this is a piece that is,
that's good.
I think it's hard to rhythmically align when you're in the room together live. And, much less when you're on Jamulus with the very quick rhythms going on in the click track. So I'm curious what happened. it was definitely getting there, but it was so incredibly aligned tonight.
I think a lot of the importance is always having a tech guy to test. We recorded every rehearsal, right? And then I know we always got feedback on who was behind and who was this and that, and we would always adjust our settings at each rehearsal. And it felt like a discovery process. That's how I think it got so tight.
And we scheduled an extra rehearsal on Tuesday to try and go over.
I heard that happened, yes.
And then for those in the audience who might have been fooled into thinking we are really amazing, there was...
What?
There was... We're amazing. We're maybe not as really amazing as we would be if we sang that without a track that had both a click and some notes for us. So we were definitely trying to... We had something to sync us up. It's really hard in Jamulus to stay together without that.
Are we addicted?
Excuse me?
Are we addicted? No.
As needed.
We're thinking about technological possibilities that will obviate the need for this. But we did have some help. But even with that, as Perry was saying, we've been singing along with that the whole time. And it takes some doing to get to where you have to get your precision up to where people sound good together.
That good old-fashioned extra work right before the concert.
Yeah. So I'm glad that Perry thought it went okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also for the audience.
Early on, we made the choice to listen to all the parts doubled in our ears. So, in a way, maybe that's a cheat sheet, but I was fine with that, and I think we were all fine with that. At some point, I think I read something where you were also going to put a piano sound under it. Was that for the articulation of?
Yeah. So.
Although we didn't.
We needed more attack.
Yeah. So we had woodwind sounds playing the notes, and it was thought that maybe a more incisive attack would help. So we put that in, but it was not that much different than it had been before. All right. So yes, maybe we should wrap up. Any other questions from the chat we need to answer?
No, we're all good. Just want to thank Matt and Perry for joining us for the talkback.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Great pieces.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Let's
write
more.
Tip jar.
Tip jar for watching.
Inversion. We will see you all at the Inversion
Saturday
Ensemble watch party on Saturday night.
Facebook.com/Inversion Ensemble.
All right.
See you then.